Good evening, good evening, and hello to everyone. And so this is Real Talk with DeAndrea Bolden. And so tonight I'm going to be talking about, I guess you could say this is very controversial because the person is very controversial, but I'm going to be talking about this whole Kevin Samuels viral internet sensation type thing that we've been seeing. And so one thing I never heard of him until this year, but I did do my research and I see that he's been doing his videos and making content for several years. And if you go back several years, you will see that all his content used to be geared towards men. And I think it was more towards 2020 or so is when he started making videos that kind of pulled in more of a female audience. Before then, it was more, he would be like, reviewing men's cologne and giving men tips and different things like that. And now we see him, now that he's more visible, he's gone viral several times, things like that. Now he's dealing with things more towards women. And so I wanted to take a minute to kind of say, who he is. Kevin Samuels he says that he is a image consultant. And I forgot what he said. I think he said he used to do sales or something as far as vocationally in the past. And so I don't think he's doing that now. I think his content has allowed him to monetize, kind of what he's doing. And so for a lot of people, especially Black women, Kevin Samuels has came off as very brash and harsh. He has triggered a lot of people. He's made a lot of African American women in particular angry. He's made a lot of people upset. He's ruffled a lot of feathers. And so I want to get into this topic. I've been waiting to talk about this for a while. I know people were talking about it on Clubhouse, but I have not been on Clubhouse for several months now, and I don't know if I will be back. And so I'm excited about this tonight. I know that people are still adjusting to me putting my content on YouTube instead of Facebook. And so this, Real Talk with DeAndrea is going to be Thursdays at 7 o'clock. And so that is going to be here. But while we're talking about this topic, I want to hear from you. I want to let me know, what are your thoughts about Kevin Samuels? What are your thoughts about the things that I'm going to cover, talking about now? So please engage with me, talk to me. Let's have these discussions, even if they're uncomfortable, even if they're difficult. These are still discussions and conversations that need to be had. And so when it comes to Mr. Samuels, the first thing I'm like, how is one man upsetting so many people? Even when I look on Facebook, I see Kevin Samuels aside, people stay triggered because a lot of times people are easily bothered by what other people are saying and doing. I have a very simple philosophy for the most part when it comes to social media in general. If somebody says or does something you don't like, keep moving, keep scrolling, keep going. Find content that you do like, find content that you do agree with. And so because he has been getting so much, first I want to talk about the buzz. He had a video that went viral several months ago where a lot of people felt that he was pretty much attacking and beating this African American woman down. She was on there talking about how she makes six figures and she needs a man that makes six figures, and she thinks, as far as her looks and everything, that on a scale of 1 to 10, she kind of she sees herself towards the top, which is fine. You can feel you have the right to feel hold on. How you feel. Give me a second. Okay. My puppy unplugged my lighting. And so but one of the important things to realize with that is, I think with that video, what upsets so many people is it's not what you say sometimes, it's how you say it. But I can say that after watching his show for several, weeks or months or whatever, I can say that some of the things he says to some of the women that come on there have some validity. I think sometimes his approach and the way he says it can come off very brash and very harsh. However, in light of some more recent comments by Monique, which I will get to later, I think some people just don't want to be told anything other than what they want to hear. So how is one man triggering so many people? A lot of women feel like he is attacking Black women and he is tearing down the Black family and he's trying to keep Black women and Black men apart. I can say for myself that after viewing his show, I will get to the things that I disagree with, but I disagree that he's trying to tear apart Black families, especially when he's telling women to stay with their families, when he's telling women to take their husband back, when he's telling people, you know, try to make it work with one of your children's father, or try to make it work with the person that you have children with if you can. So I have to disagree with some of that. I think that a lot of times as African American females, we can be very triggered when we feel that we're always put down in society. If some people feel like they've been put down as far as their personal experiences in romantic and other type of relationships and experiences and encounters. So I think for him, he was the straw that broke a lot of people's backs. I think for a lot of Black women, I see now with the whole, you know, self-care and, you know, let's lift each other up tight movement. Anybody that's not saying, you know, hello, queen, you know, y'all are beautiful queens, this. I think for some people, it's simply triggering and it's kind of agitating. Okay, so that's the thing about him. So he has gone viral over and over and over. He continues to go viral. People are supporting what he does everywhere. But a lot of women are still angry. A lot of content creators are making content to talk about how much they dislike him. Now, my whole thing is I'm the type of person, I say live and let live. Even if you don't agree with someone, you don't have to try to make content to just attack someone, especially one particular content creator just keeps trying to make up stuff to try to make this man look bad. And so, you know, it kind of makes you look bad when you try to make another person look bad. I don't have to tear somebody else down to try to make myself look good. And that's kind of what I'm seeing with some of these, I'm sorry, give me another second, with some of these content creators. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to put this puppy in the crate. Okay, so yeah, so that one man has been taking the internet by storm. His content has been out there, but I will say he has something very unique, whether people like him or not. You do not see a lot of Black males making content that is so geared towards Black males. You have your other, you know, relationship people and your other content creators that make things about relationships geared more towards women. And just people just gearing it towards women in general. And so he has something very unique. And so what he's saying resonates with a lot of men. And so I want to get with that right now. And so if so many men agree with him, should we simply ignore what all these men are saying? Or as women, and when I say women in general, I'm married, or as women, should we maybe consider what is being said? So what am I saying? If women, especially Black women, a great majority of them say that they want to date and marry and have families with Black men, and if so many Black men are agreeing with him, should what he's saying at least be considered when we see that as a whole, unfortunately, somewhere along the line, the marriage rates amongst Black women has dwindled. Now, I know there are people that are not married and don't want to be married. That is fine. But however, I know too many that desire to be married. And so therefore, should we at least consider what is being said? There's a saying, chew the meat, spit out the bone. And so are there some things that are valid and that are true? For instance, what are some of the things he says? He says, you know, more African American women should consider marrying before they carry, meaning wait until marriage to have children. Now, be for myself, those that know me, I was a mother before I came a wife. And so as somebody that was a single mother for many years, I can agree with that. I can agree with that for a lot of reasons, because it's easier. It's easier when you simply start a family with the person that you plan to spend the rest of your life with. Now, I know sometimes people are engaged, things happen, marriages fall apart, engagements fall apart. I get that. However, I personally know a lot of people that are intentionally having multiple children, even by multiple people, and they say, well, I'll just get married later. And that doesn't always seem to work, because a lot of men are not as open to take on so much responsibility when they are able to simply find a woman that's just as compatible without the extra, baggage. And so again, and I'm going to get to that later, because I know he triggers a lot of single mothers, and I know why. And I'm going to deal with that, and I'm going to talk about what he says that I disagree with when it comes to single mothers and marriage. But I do agree that we should begin to evaluate some things when the rate of marriage, or the rate of unwed pregnancies amongst Black women, is over 70%. And so I think we should be a little more conscious and more aware. I've even asked questions, and I put things out there, and I said, as Black women or as Black people, are we preparing our children? That means male and female. Are we preparing our children for marriage? Do we even give them the idea that marriage and family is important? We see that it's been said over and over that the value of the net worth of Black people is getting ready to hit zero in so many years. And I think we need to look at that family is heading towards zero as well. I believe that one of the reasons we see more wealth in other communities is because of families. A lot of single mothers are also struggling financially, and quite a few are in poverty, and their children are being raised in poverty. And sometimes we can see where that cycle continues, whereas generations in poverty, really having a net worth of zero. And I'm not going to get into, poor financial decisions and not being a good steward and wasting money. We know people do that all the time. But I still think that there is a correlation. I can't prove it, but I think there's a connection, should I say. I think there's some type of connection to the wealth of the Black community heading towards zero, and there being over, like 70% of Black homes are led by single mothers. And it's like, where are the fathers? Where are the husbands? And so that's a totally different, statement, because we know that these women are not getting themselves pregnant, but that's a whole nother topic. And so is everything Kevin Samuels say wrong? I will say no, but everything he says also is not right. As a Christian, there are things he says that I don't agree with when it talks about men exercising options and all these things. Now, I can from a natural perspective, or just from a secular view, I understand his point and what he's saying. However, as a Christian, from my perspective, as a Christian that believes the Bible as it is written, I disagree. And so there are some things he says that I think are just, wrong. Another thing, I don't believe that every woman needs to particularly be a size 2 or size 4. I don't even think that's possible. However, I do think there's some validity to him saying that quite a few, African-American women could do well to slim down. And so I want to actually share some, some statistics about that, like really fast. Let me see if I can pull it back up. I want to pull up some statistics about African-American women and obesity, heart disease, and things like that. So give me like 1 second while I pull that up. And so, like I said, I don't agree that everybody has to be, 130 pounds at a size 2. However, I do think we need to be more aware of some of the health issues that are affecting Black women in high numbers. So we know that health is wealth, and we also, as Black women, have to learn and need to, get some understanding with some things. Only 36% of African American women know that heart disease is their greatest health risk. Now, I'm going to give you websites. This is true, .gov website statistics. This is real stuff. African American women have the highest rates of obesity or being overweight compared to other groups in the United States. About 4 out of 5, or 80%, of Black women are overweight or obese. Now, if we be honest, there's some validity to that just by thinking about and seeing, some of the stuff we've seen. African American women of African American women aged 20 and over, 49% have heart diseases. At 20 years old, starting at 20 years old and up, 49, that's almost half of all Black women have heart diseases. Cardiovascular diseases kill almost 50,000 African American women annually. These are wives, these are mothers, these are daughters, sisters, friends, just gone because of cardiovascular diseases. The African American population also tends to have higher rates of obesity and diabetes, which puts them at greater risk for high blood pressure and heart disease. Also, more than 40% of non-Hispanic Blacks have blood pressure, which have high blood pressure, which is more severe in Blacks and whites, and it tends to develop earlier in life. You can go to minorityhealth.hhs.gov. You can also go to goredforwomen.org and look up what they're talking about with heart disease. These are real statistics. So even it's not about being a size 2. It's not about weighing exactly 130 pounds. It's about health. It's about living a quality life. It's about living a long life. I believe as African American women, and just sometimes African American people in general, we have to make some health changes. We have to make some lifestyle changes, and we have to make some diet changes. And so we have to be open to this and stop being argumentative and combative about everything. So again, no, I'm not a size 2. And I don't think if I tried, I could get down to a size 2. I'd be real thin. I would probably have to be, when I graduated high school, I was 128 pounds and I was a size 7. For me to get down to a size 2, I'd have to be sub 100 pounds and I'm 5'8". That's not going to work. And so again, I don't believe it. I don't believe in, being addicted to the scale or being addicted, to things like that. But I do believe we have to set ourselves up to be healthier, set ourselves up to try to slow down or avoid some of these, issues. I know that sometimes we're genetically disposed to things. However, nobody needs to eat Doritos. You don't need to eat a bag of Twizzlers every day. And so we do have to recognize as Black women, we got to take care of our health. So when it comes to that, I don't agree with him, as far as always the numbers and the sizes, but I do agree that a lot of African American women, we are overweight and we do need to get our health and our diet and our exercise in life under control. And so yes, I agree with him. Again, I said I was one that was a single mother. So I had a child before I was married. So yes, I do agree that as African American women, we need to be, trying to get married, then start families, and not start a family and then, want a quality husband to come and take all our baggage and our responsibility and kind of, push up with that. Because, again, there's a lot of reason why a lot of men are not as prone to marry women that are single mothers. And so, but I'm going to get to that because I don't agree with Kevin Samuels when he says that being a single mother brings your value down. I disagree with that. And so I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that in a minute. And so, so I want to know from what, you guys think, can telling the truth to Black women sometimes be offensive or triggering? And I already said that the way Kevin Samuels talked to some people sometimes I disagree with. However, recently we saw Monique try to be as calm and sweet and gentle as she could be, saying that as African American women, now, because a lot of people said they didn't want to hear what Kevin Samuels had to say because they was like, how can a man say something to me as a woman? So now you have another Black woman saying something to Black women, and they got justice triggered. Justice, and I think they even came for her harder than they came for Kevin Samuels. And I'm like, how can a bonnet make people so upset? And so I made a status. I agree. He does have some good points, and some things he say is off the mark. I agree. And so how can a bonnet make people so upset? And I put on Facebook, I said, African American women have every right to wear bonnets, pajamas, and slippers in public. You can wear them wherever you want to wear. You can wear bonnets and pajamas to the grocery store. You can wear them to the school to pick up the kids. You can do all that. However, quality marriage-minded men also have the right to overlook them. So to say that there's no good men out there, but to be seen in public on a regular basis in bonnets, pajamas, furry slippers, and pajama pants and house robes, you may be getting overlooked by quality marriage-minded men. And so we, as African American women, I see how we love and we applaud people like Michelle Obama. And I said, how can we applaud her and so many have no desire to be anything like her? It's like I'm seeing everybody gearing up for hot girl summer, and it's like you're not going to meet anybody like a former President Barack Obama doing hot girl summer, running around in bonnets. Now, I'm a live and let live. I say, do you live how you want to live? If you want to wear bonnets, that's on you. But the consequences of carrying yourself like that will mean that the quality of men that approach you may not be the quality of man that you want. Because a lot of women call into Kevin Samuels saying, you know, the men that are approaching them, they don't make enough. They don't have this. They don't have that. And this and this and this. And sometimes the way you carry yourself can cause you not to attract the type of man that you want. I see women all the time, African American women talking about, we're manifesting our husband. Now, as a Christian, I don't do all that manifesting. I don't have time for that. You know, what prayer did Sierra pray and what prayer did Megan Good pray? And I'm like, you can pray the exact prayer that Megan Good prayed. You can pray the exact prayer that Sierra prayed. But do you have Sierra's money? Do you have Sierra's body? Are you in a position where you are visible and in the circle of influence Sierra has? And so what I mean is a lot of women are in hopes and waiting for men that are not looking for women like them. And that's what Kevin Samuels is trying to get a lot of women to see. It's nothing wrong desiring a man that makes $1 million a year, but is a man making $1 million a year trying to beat your door down? Are you surrounded by men that make $1 million a year? And so sometimes we have to be honest and stop thinking that the men that are approaching us are beneath us. I had to tell people, I said, just because a man does not have a degree, that does not mean you're settling just because you have an education. And so I don't know where we're getting this and where, you know, we're getting this mindset of if he doesn't make a certain amount of money, then he's not good enough. And that's not someone that I could, you know, submit to and all these different things. And I'm like, are we keeping ourselves single as Black women because we disregard the men that approach us? Now, I'm not saying just date any and everybody. That's not what I'm saying. I'm also not saying yoke yourself up and marry just any and everybody. Please don't. However, taking a man and just throwing him away because he doesn't make a certain amount of money where he's financially stable, he's willing to work, he will love you, value you, honor you, and do everything that you want in a husband, but he just doesn't have Jay-Z's wallet, it could be unrealistic, especially when you don't have Beyonce's looks, Beyonce's body, and you're not in Beyonce's circle. And so we have to, as African American women, stop being triggered by everything and sometimes be open to hear what he's saying. And so because of like the whole Monique Bonnet thing, I said, are Black women open to any type of criticism from anyone? Because like I said before, the whole argument with Kevin Samuels was he's a man, he can't tell us anything. Then when she comes on there, they're telling her she needs to mind her business. This don't have anything to do with her. And she said, you know, as Black women, y'all are my business. Now for me, I'm not the type to just be sitting here, you know, getting cussed out. Now that's why I put on Facebook, I said, you have every right to wear your bonnets. But if you're hoping for a man that's, you know, an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer, these typically aren't going to be men that are trying to date or marry women that walk around public in bonnets and pajamas. So people can do whatever they want to, and you may still be approached by men, but it may not be the quality of man that you want. So yeah, so this, I know that, you know, he has triggered a lot of people, like I said, but I also said I don't agree with everything he says. I didn't agree with the whole weight topic, but I did express that as Black women, we have to stop accepting obesity and sickness and disease and try to lose weight and be healthier for our health, not just for a man, but for our health. And also we have to, you know, so, you know, everybody's not going to be a size 2, but nobody needs to be a size 32 either. And so that's not to criticize people, but that's just saying for your health, it's not good for you to carry that much weight and be obese like that. It's not good for your health. And so you may can argue with him, but you can't argue with the statistics of how many Black women have heart disease and heart issues and diabetes and high blood pressure and all these different things going on. And so we need to lose weight for our health. And so we need to get down to a healthy weight and a healthier size so that as Black women, we can live longer. So I'm going to say this. He says that being a single mother decreases your value. I disagree. And I'm going to tell you why I disagree. As a person, I don't believe anything you do is going to decrease your value. However, being a single mother will limit your dating options, period. That's a fact. I can say that, like I said, I was a single mother. That is a fact. There are some men that are not willing to date single mothers because they don't want the drama. A lot of men have married single mothers and they were expected to finance everything, but they didn't have any say in their own home. They could not correct or discipline their wives' children. And for a lot of men, they simply said, I've heard and seen men say how they divorced their wives because they were tired of taking care of children that they had no say so. They could not discipline them. They couldn't say anything. And so these are some of the reasons why more and more men are becoming reluctant. Obviously, the drama obviously can cause people to be less willing to date someone with single mothers. So no, being a single mother does not decrease your value, but it can shrink your dating pool. It can. Some men simply do not want to raise someone else's child. That's not offensive. That is a fact. You can ask men. Take the time to ask men that you know. Some are okay with it. Some are not. Some men see single women or single mothers as someone to deal with until they find who they really want. Some see them as just an opportunity for sexual relationships. But everybody is not willing to marry a single mother. So no, your value does not decrease, but your dating pool shrinks as a single mother. I can say that was true for me. There were some people that did not, as soon as they found out I was a single mother, people did not want to date me. That's life. And so people can't be angry or triggered by that fact or by that truth. And so this is just, you know, one of those, it is what it is type of deals or type of situation. And so, yeah, but I know he triggers a lot of single mothers when he says things like that, when he says, you know, your value decreases and things like this. And I will say that the more children and the more children, having multiple children by multiple people, it makes it more complicated. And so the dating pool can keep shrinking, you know, depending on the size of your family. The more children you have, it can also shrink your dating pool and the type of man that is willing to date you. And so that there's nothing, you know, that's just natural. I believe, you know, there's a natural choice when it comes, you know, to marriage and finding someone and finding a partner and finding someone that you want to spend the rest of your life with. And so, no, being a single mother does not decrease your value, but it does limit your dating. It does limit your dating size. And so another thing he said, the last thing he says that is true, is that a lot of Black women have been told to put off marriage to go pursue their career. I've seen that. I've seen women be told, you know, don't worry about getting married. You can get married later. And then when later comes, they have no one. And then you have women that are, you know, in their 30s, 40s, you know, scrambling, wanting to get married while they're still fertile, versus a lot of other cultures and other races and ethnicities and nationalities. They push for their people to get married young and build together. And I think that's another thing, as a lot of women want whether they're single mothers or not, they want a man to, you know, pull up in a Porsche, and he needs to, you know, be living in a mansion and have $1 million cash in the bank, but is that really realistic for everyone? No, because most men are not that wealthy. And so what Kevin Samuels says is true. If every woman wants a millionaire, and there's only, let's say there's 3 million single millionaires right now, there's probably 10 times the number of single women. And so it is impossible for every single woman to get, that million dollar guy, that rich guy, that wealthy guy. You may have to get a guy that works a regular job and build together. You can build together. You can build from the ground up, when you have somebody that's at least willing to work. But so what Kevin Samuels says, and I'm getting off here, a lot of what he says is geared towards women that want high value men. And what he refers to as a high value man would be a man that makes 6 figures, has earned 6 figures for at least, I think, several years, is in a circle of people that are influential and brings value to that circle. So like a Russell Wilson, Ciara's husband, that's a high value man. And so people will look at Ciara and say, well, she got, that man, and she was a single mother. But like I said, Ciara had the money, she had the looks, and she was visible to someone like that. And he didn't even have to, go for Ciara, even though she was a single mother, but that's who he chose. But the point is, every woman cannot think that they are going to be the next one to get this $1 million man. I believe, and I'm going to get to reality TV. I'm going to talk about that because I believe that Black women are being heavily influenced and impacted by reality TV to where they are disconnected from reality. Every woman that goes on there says that they're an 8, a 9, or 10, and they're up there with Beyonce. And it's like, okay, come on, guys, we gotta be honest and realize that everybody's not a 10. I'm not up there. And so we have to be honest and realize that you have to be open to the, if the type of man that approaches you is so low quality that they're not marriage material, then you may need to make some adjustments. And so he gave some suggestions. He said women can they can lose weight. They can be more cooperative and agreeable. And I will say, from the combativeness between Monique and Kevin Samuels, a lot of African-American women probably aren't going to be very submissive in a relationship if a bonnet causes you to pop off like that. And so, do we really want to submit? Do we really want to cooperate and agree in a long-term relationship with a Black male? And so, or, whatever male, some people, date outside their race or are open to it or want to, and that's perfectly fine. That's the world we live in. Who cares? But the thing is, I think people need to at least consider some of the things he says. I don't agree with the sharing and men exercising options. I already said, as a Christian, I don't agree with any of that. Anything he says that goes against the word of God, I'm in disagreement with. However, I think there are some things we can do as African-American women. He's telling the truth. If that many women are that angry at Monique, are we really that friendly? Are we really ready to cooperate and agree? Are we open when 80% of African-American women are overweight? Are we open to at least getting healthier? So I'm not talking scale and I'm not talking dress size. Are we open to getting healthier? Are we open to exercising and eating healthier? Are we open to that? Are we open to, realizing that, the man you marry may make $45,000 and not $450,000? Are we open to that? Or is everybody willing to stay by themselves or be a side chick because they want what they want? And I tell people, you can want what you want, but you may not get what you want. And so you have to be honest once you start getting a certain age and say, okay, I've been wanting a man to make $1 million the last 10 years. Not one has approached me. And so sometimes we have to be realistic and say, okay, do I really want to be married, or do I just want my checklist checked off? Do I have to have everything on my checklist? Because sometimes I think a lot of women will say, if I marry that person, I'm settling, but we never think, is that person settling for you? I will see people and it's like, okay, not knocking nobody. Like I said, I was a single mother, but you got 2, 3, 4, 5 kids and you think you're settling because the man doesn't make $1 million, but this man is willing to take on all your responsibility. Who's really settling? Who's really, compromising? Who's really getting the short end of the stick? And so I think sometimes we have to be open to what the man is saying and quit arguing about everything. We arguing about everything. And so, yes, I don't agree with everything he's saying, but I do think if women would be open to some of the things he's saying, he could be right, especially when so many men agree with him. If so many men are agreeing with him, maybe some of the things he said could be valid. Some of the things he said can be true. And so I think as African American women, we have to stop being so quick to be offended, stop being so triggered, stop wanting to pop off on everybody and everything, and sometimes at least hear a person out. And so, yes, I already said I don't agree with everything he says or how he says it, but I can look through his brashness. I can look through sometimes his rudeness and how shrewd he is, and I can hear what he's saying. And I can see what the men are saying. I have asked men personally, including my own husband, do you agree with what some of this men is saying? And my husband laughed and was like, yeah. He didn't say yes to everything, like I said, but some stuff he said the man is spot on. I had asked men when I like men that I know and associate with, and I said, what you think? And they said, I agree with the man on a lot of stuff. And so how can we argue with men saying, I agree with this man, and say, no, this is what men want? And so if men are saying that some of the things he's saying is true, maybe we should listen. There's nothing wrong with being healthier as we age, and just in general, losing a couple pounds, eating healthy, nothing wrong with that. Just do it for you. You ain't got to do it for a man. Do it for you. Do it for your kids if you have them. Do it for your health. Do it for yourself. But let's stop arguing about everything and realize that some of the things the man is saying is right. Some of the things the man is saying is absolutely spot on and true. And that's why so many men are listening to him, are high-fiving him, are sending him money on a regular basis. They support everything he's saying and doing, because he's saying what a lot of men wanted to say. Now, again, I don't agree with his presentation all the time, but he's saying what a lot of men want to say. They want a woman that's going to submit and agree. They want a woman that's fit and feminine and friendly. They want a woman that's going to, to value them and honor them and respect them. And it should go both ways. You shouldn't, that goes both ways. Your significant other should also respect, value, and honor you. You have every right. Yes. And that's what I said. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of the men, I read the comments and stuff because I'm trying to use it as I'm developing my content over here. A lot of the men are saying they don't like the wigs and the weaves. However, if that's how people want to wear their hair, that's their right. But a lot of men say they don't like that. They like women with natural hair. They don't like all the makeup and the lashes and all that stuff that women adorn themselves with. A lot of men don't like it. A lot of them don't like the fake nails. Now, again, women have the right to wear their hair, their makeup, their nails, everything the way they want to. However, if you're trying to, attract certain men and you look the opposite of what they're looking for, you may have to make adjustments. Now, I'm not talking about changing who you are to a T, but I do think that some of the stuff we do sometimes for beauty sometimes can be over the top. Like lashes, I think can be really nice when done right. I don't really wear lashes because I wear glasses, but some of them, it look like Big Bird. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's looking like if you blink, you're going to fly away. It's like if the makeup is giving you a whole nother face to where if you wash it off, nobody can recognize you. That may be a little too much makeup, And I just, and the last show I did a couple weeks ago, I had 3 cosmetologists go live with me, and we talked about why are so many Black women going bald. And I didn't know this. One of the cosmetologists told me that those lace fronts and those closures and stuff, they were saying that stuff, for the most part, was really for television, and it's not meant to be wore all the time. And they were talking about how that is contributing to so many Black women having no edges, their hairlines are receding. And so the whole topic is why are so many healthy Black women losing their hair. So I'm not talking about the autoimmune disease when people have alopecia or when people have cancer or other health issues. I'm talking about healthy people with no major health concern. It's like when we're seeing teenage Black girls with no edges and receding hairlines, when I'm looking at 20-year-olds looking like they are 80 by the head because their hairline is back there and they still trying to wear braids to their ankles and all these different things. And so, yeah, it's a lot to it. So if you didn't see that video, please go back and watch it. That was 2 weeks ago. I had 3 cosmetologists on there. But again, yeah, a lot of people are triggered because they take what he says personally. But I'm sorry, a lot of the things he says are right. Like I said, I disagree as far as, giving everybody a certain weight that they need to be at. And I understand he's an image consultant and I respect that. However, everybody ain't gonna be a size 2. But like I said, nobody needs to be a 32. And so we have to be honest and recognize when we are at a point where we're weighing a little bit more than we should. I remember I was talking to my mom. My mom is almost 70, and she don't mind me saying this. She's not ashamed of her age. And she talked about how when she was growing up, she said all the black women was small and fit and all this stuff. And I'm like, we got to stop normalizing this when so many of us are getting sick. And so it's not just about look. It's not just about, attracting a man. It's about health. It's about being here to raise our children and be there for our grandchildren. It's about living a quality life. And so we got to do this for us. And so I would admonish people to quit being so triggered by this man, and start listening to what he has, some of the things that are being said. I don't say you got to listen to what he says. So let me reword that. But I'm just saying, like, being a little bit more open. And for me, at first he was triggering me, but I started listening and I'm like, you know what? A lot of African-American women are overweight. A lot of black women are mean. A lot of black women are argumentative and combative. A lot of black women, are single, never married, going into their 50s and 60s. It's like if only 1 out of 4 African-American women are married, what is going on? When you go back, 40, 50 years, it was the rate of marriage amongst African-American men and women was much higher. And so we see a much lower rate of marriage, but we see a much higher rate of unwed pregnancies. And like I said, I include myself in that. So I don't want nobody triggered thinking I'm bashing single mothers, because I was a single mother. But we got to be honest about this stuff and start asking, why is marriage not a priority for us? Why do we, think, having all these kids unmarried is just no big deal. And then you just go get a husband later, instead of realizing that some men don't want to take on all that baggage and responsibility. I think we need to start as older women. I don't consider myself older like that, but as a woman that's married, has been married a while, I think it's our responsibility to not let this next generation fall into all the same traps that we have. I think it's important that we begin to explain to younger ladies that, you can't talk to a man any kind of way and cuss him out and embarrass him and humiliate him and act like how these Muppets are acting on reality TV. Real men aren't going to put up with that. No real man wants to deal with chaos and confusion all the time. And so I think we have to be honest about some of this stuff and be open and really start evaluating and see, what do we glorify in the Black community? Does it really help us? Does it really build health, wealth, and families? I think we really have to start looking at this stuff and really figure out who's the real enemy. Is it Kevin Samuels, or is it the things that we accept? A woman had posted on a post that I made on Facebook. She said that her aunt told her she was going to get married. She said her aunt told her not to get married, just have a bunch of kids by different men, because that's what the women in her family do. I said, what type of aunt would tell her niece to have a bunch of kids by different men and don't get married because that's what the men in their family do? I posed a question on Facebook asking people if they had been told not to get married. I couldn't believe how many women were being told by their mothers, their grandmothers, and their aunts to never get married. And then we wonder why so many African-American women are single and unmarried. And it's a crazy situation. And then you add a lot of these other things in there, other factors, and it makes for wondering, like, do we really, as a whole, when I say this as a whole, I'm talking about Black women as a whole, are we okay with growing old alone? Are we okay with having no one? Are we okay with being left just with each other? This woman posed a question on Twitter, and she told people to consider a world. She said, whether you want to marry a man or not, or whether you consider dating a woman or not, consider a world with no men, where the women just love each other and build a society together. It was something weird like that, like build lives together and build their own little network. And I'm like, where is this thinking even coming from, where we think this is normal? Where we think it's normal to have a society without men? Like, why would we even want a society without men? Why would we even want to be left with no other option than each other? Now, if people, date women, that's their business. But I'm talking about for those that desire to be married to a man, those that desire, to have a male as their life partner. Why do we even entertain stuff like this? Where do we get this mindset of, we are the only group of women that will proudly boast we don't need a man. I don't want a man. I've never heard an Asian woman say that. I've never heard a white woman say that. I've never heard a Hispanic woman say that. I've never heard a woman from the Middle East or anything like that say that. We are the only group of women that do that and say that. We're the only group of women that at every time we get a chance, we talk about how independent we are and how we don't want a man and we don't need a man. What woman what sober-minded woman wants to be left to do everything on her own for the rest of her life? I know I don't. What sober-minded woman wants to be left to struggle and scrape, trying to take care of kids, take care of the bills, and doing everything on your own? Just because you can do it on your own doesn't mean you should want to, and doesn't mean it should be the norm. I think we need to start making marriage and family great again. And that goes, and I understand that some men are not quality mates and quality to be husbands. And I've heard some women say that they didn't marry their children's father because he wasn't good enough to marry. And I'm like, well, why would you have children by somebody that wasn't good enough to marry? Then that person probably shouldn't have been good enough to procreate with. And so just seeing the mindset of having kids, then I'll get a husband. Like, where are we getting this mindset from? Where do we get this mindset that no matter how I live my life or no matter what decisions I make, when I'm ready, I'll get married? And a lot of women are starting to see it doesn't work like that. It's not working like that, and it hasn't worked like that. And for a lot of people, it's backfiring. And so we have to really start evaluating things. I think though, older African-American women need to start putting the younger ones up on game and explain some things to these women so that we can make sure that we're not seeing generation after generation of just single mothers with no fathers there and no husbands. I think we have to, push our standards up and push the requirements up so that so many Black women are not left by themselves, because then we also see a lot of bitter people, bitter and angry. They say that they don't want a man or need a man because they're brokenhearted, really is what it is. And a lot of them, they were left brokenhearted by their father, and then they were left brokenhearted and disappointed again by someone that they gave their heart to. And so we have to start, turning this thing around and really getting our women to realize that for those that want to be married, that marriage is something that, we need to prepare for, just like men need to prepare for. A grown man that's sitting at home playing video games in his mother's basement shouldn't be trying to marry nobody. Unless he's a gamer making $1 million a year and just taking care of his mother, that's not the ideal situation. And so it goes both ways. But right now I'm talking about women, because I'm listening to women saying they divorced their husband because they thought they were going to get somebody better, and then nobody wanted them. I've seen women leave their husbands and their children behind in the name of pursuing a career, in the name of pursuing ministry. I've seen this stuff. I've heard women say that they let a good man get by because they didn't like the way he looked. They didn't like his hairline. They didn't like his teeth. He didn't make enough money. They didn't like, how he handled things in the bedroom, all these different things. And then we wonder why. Because somebody else will take that man, snag him, and run down the street. Becky will take him, run right on down the street and smile doing it. And so we have to really be realistic when it comes to dating and marriage, and even the reasons why we don't get married and why we dismiss someone for frivolous reasons. I listened to a woman say she's going to divorce her husband because she feels like she's losing herself as a wife and mother. That's your job. Where are you going? You're going to pack up, leave your husband and kids, and go where and do what? And so there's a lot of things that we really have to get an understanding of. as African American women. I think if more of us desire marriage and want to be married, I think we have to unlearn some things. I think we have to be open. I see a lot of nasty things that a lot of Black women will say about white women. But my thing is, if they're getting married, maybe they're doing something that you need to do. Maybe they know something that you don't know. And so I think we have to be more realistic about things. And I'm going to get some people on here to talk about what marriage is, because I believe a lot of people are stuck in the Disney fantasy. You know, I'm going to have this great big old wedding, and I'm going to put pictures up and put hashtag goals, and I'm going to go on this huge honeymoon, and it's going to hashtag goals, and then we're going to get this huge $500,000 house and hashtag, like, the reasons people want to get married and their idea of marriage and this fairy tale that's in their mind. I think that's another reason why so many women aren't getting married. But I want to know your thoughts. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. I know others will see this later. I'm getting ready to e-blast this video out. Feel free to inbox and DM and email me your thoughts about this topic, and I will backtrack and answer and address some of this stuff next week. And so thank you guys for tuning in. I know people are still getting adjusted to my content being on YouTube and not Facebook. So here is a little commercial from our sponsor, and then I'm out of here.
Lifestyle brand Sugar Sweet Bath and Body Treats offer a variety of high-quality self-care products that are cruelty-free and made with natural ingredients. Their product selection ranges from their amazing bath bombs and scrubs to their top-selling body butter. Be sure to check them out on their website, and if you subscribe to their email list, you get 20% off your purchase. You can find them online by logging on to www.sugarsweetbathtreats.com.
All right. Thank you, guys. See you next week, Thursday at 7 o'clock live.